Hey guys, it's Dark Architect 18 back here with another YouTube video, and today we are doing the Battleship 101 Ultimate Beginner's Guide for World of Warships Legends. So whether you're new to the game or you're just trying to sharpen your battleship skills, this guide will cover everything you need to dominate the seas, from positioning and gunnery to surviving under pressure. We're breaking it all down step by step. So we're going to jump straight into it. So Section 1 for understanding battleships. First things first is what makes a battleship unique. So battleships are the heavy hitters of World of Warships Legends. They pack massive guns, heavy armor, and incredible range, but there's a trade-off. They're slower, less maneuverable, and easy targets if played recklessly. Think of them as floating fortresses designed to control the battlefield with firepower and presence. Battleship Playstyles. So you have long-range snipers like Yamato or Champagne or Maine. So you stay back and punish other cruisers, battleships, or carriers, or even other destroyers if you can hit them accurately enough. And then you have like mid-range brawlers such as Bismarck or torpedoes or Brandenburg. So it's great for pushing up with support, so you can get your secondaries into range and your main guns. And then there's hybrid ships, so that can either do secondaries and main guns or a combination. And you just got to understand which ones really work for that. So next step with battleships is understanding the stealth and positioning. So positioning is everything in a battleship. Don't sail straight into the fight early. Use islands, concealment, and distance to your advantage. Battleships thrive when angled correctly. Show your broadside and you'll get deleted. Angle your armor and you'll bounce incoming shells like a fortress. So you'll definitely see a lot of that in this gameplay with the BA hovercraft, which is also known as another variant, essentially, of the Vladivostok. So it's a reskin of the Vladivostok with one caveat to it being the secondaries are better in terms of the range and I think the reload as well. So, but anyways, now on to island cover for battleships. So islands aren't just for destroyers, they're also for battleships and or cruisers. So you got to use them smartly and use them to let you fire safely. Your guns disengage when needed and force enemies into your firing arc. So a well-placed battleship behind an island can hold an entire flank. But that doesn't mean you should sit behind an island the whole game. You should use it as needed to allow for angling and to gauge the battle and the map and the enemy's positions as needed. Using your guns on battleships, so your main guns are your greatest weapon. Learn to aim at weak spots, so fire at waterline for citadels, target broadside cruisers for devastating strikes, punish destroyers with HE shells when needed, and remember, accuracy improves with patience, so wait for the right shot instead of spamming shells recklessly. So you want to pick your shells, pick your shot, and say, why am I shooting at this target? I'm shooting at him because he's broadside, so I can citadel him. Great. So next thing with battleships is capturing objectives. So battleships aren't just damage dealers, they're anchors for objectives. When it's safe, push into capture zones with your team. Key point, with your team. Your armor and presence make it hard for enemies to contest. Just don't go in alone, and support is key. So usually if you have like 3 or 4 people on your team, like in cruisers or battleships behind you as a total, then you have a better chance of pushing in and capturing that point. Another key thing with battleships is surviving and countering enemies. So destroyers, watch for torpedoes, always angle and keep them spotted. Cruisers can burn you down with fire. Use your repair party wisely and your damage control system. So only use your damage control system if you know the number of fires you're getting. So if you're at, let's say I'm on 2 fires right now and I'm getting spammed by let's say a Cleveland, and he's just firing HE at me like continuously, I'm not going to put that out until I know he's either dead or close to it, or I can safely put out a fire and manage doing that. But in a ship like this, I have limited damage cons, so I got to really pick when I use my damage cons, and also pick when I use my heals, because that's very critical. Another good thing to keep in mind with battleships is the team play and communication is critical. So battleships shine when supporting their team. Use your firepower to cover destroyers and caps. Focus fire with cruisers and coordinate pushes. A lone battleship gets sunk. Teamwork turns you into an unstoppable wall. So if you push with cruisers, battleships, and destroyers onto a certain flank, then it's really going to work in your favor. But if you're just pushing alone straight through the cap against 4 or 5 ships on one side of the flank, you're definitely going to be in for a rude awakening for that. So another thing with battleships is you got to be aware of the common mistakes to avoid. So finally, there's different mistakes. So like sailing broadside, you'll get sitted out instantly. Pushing too early, you'll get focused down. Ignoring the destroyers and not firing at those when those are spotted, then you're going to get picked off by them by torpedoes or by some other ships that are spotting you, which could be the destroyer. Most of the times they are anyways, but you just got to really watch the map and understand what is going on in that key situation. And then sailing in straight lines, being predictable and easy to hit is not a great thing to do in a battleship. So if you're sailing broadside the whole 2.5 minutes towards the side of a flank, you're probably going to get citadel, death struck, or torpedoed by destroyers because maybe you're spotted. So avoiding these mistakes and you'll instantly become more effective with battleships. And I thought this was a great gameplay to show that, all those critical things I just stated with battleships. You're angling, making sure you use AP like on a broadside target like this Iowa. I'm using AP. I'm angling my bow my ship towards the ship with the largest caliber guns and adjusting my speed and turning the turrets on my ship, because those turrets on your battleship are armored for a reason. So if you're not using that armor to effectively bounce shots, then what are you doing? You're just letting people essentially get free shots on your ship and take larger chunks of your ship's health away without trying to mitigate it at all, which that's not good. You want to essentially know what your role is, how you're playing your ship, what types of shells you're using, when you're going to push a battle, when you're going to hold up, when the team is supporting you, when it's not, what mistakes are really going to cost you in a battle, and use all those common things to really push you into becoming like a intermediate or more advanced player. If you get these basics down pat, you're not going to have an issue with battleships if you follow these. So overall, I've learned these skills. I mean, I've been playing the game for well over like 6.5 years now, so I'm still learning different things. But if you don't learn the basics, you're not going to progress. It's just straight to the point. There is no shortcutting the basics. You got to understand that. And once you master those and figure those out and practice as much as you need to understand those key concepts, then you're going to be a great player or become much better than what you were in terms of playing a battleship. So, and just another instance is really picking the target. So like that shot right there, I could have waited and shot a little bit forward towards the Kansas, but I shot back a bit towards the rear of the ship, so, or the stern. So it's really picking your shots, and you know, I'm sitting right here at the B cap to basically pick off different shots at like the D7 Provincian, the Kansas, the Vanguard, the York, and the Vanguard, and really just pick and choose when it makes sense to take on these targets. And I'm getting bombed by the D7, which is not great. And I'm out of damage cons now and heals, so it's definitely not looking good for me at this point. So I just thought this was a really good game of me showing how I was angling, doing all the basics, and just showing that, you know, these basics really add up, and it shows with how you perform in the battle, your commander build, and all that. So overall with this battle, I was running an accuracy build with Lev Galler. I think I was running Iachino and Andrew Cunningham. So accuracy. I mean, if you're under 11 kilometers in a Russian battleship, you're really going to start hitting the mark, and those shells are going to start connecting like you expect them to connect. But if you're over 11 kilometers, it's not going to favor you well, because the dispersion and shell grouping gets worse over range. So that's another thing you got to consider in battleships is if you are a sniper and shooting 19.5 kilometers or 21 kilometers away in a main, your shells aren't going to be pinpoint accuracy from that range. It's going to get worse. So it's just things like that that really add up, and you need to keep in mind when you're playing a battleship that there's some things you got to do, like angling your turrets. You're going to see a couple instances of that within the next minute and a half of me angling those turrets against the Vanguard. So do it here. All the shots bounce. You could have taken, you know, at least 2k worth of health right there. So overall, I hope you guys enjoyed the game. If you want to see more of these types of videos, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to comment down below what types of videos you'd like to see similar to this. Maybe a cruiser one, maybe a series of a line of ships. I mean, up to you guys, but I thought this was a great game. 144,000 damage, almost 3k XP, 500,000 silver, and 4 different medals. So I thought we ended that great, and hope everyone has a good day. Thanks for tuning in. This is Dark Architect 18. I'm out, and we'll see you in the next YouTube video. Thanks everybody for watching. Peace. Bye.